Right now, in a narrow valley in central Norway, glowing orbs are lighting up the night sky. Nobody can explain them. In Ohio, a radio telescope once caught a 7.2-second signal from deep space that matched every prediction we had for alien contact. Then it vanished and has never returned. And inside your own head, at this exact moment, something is happening that no scientist on Earth has been able to explain. These are the 7 biggest mysteries science cannot solve. Unexplained phenomena that have defeated every team of researchers, every piece of equipment, and every theory we have thrown at them for decades. Let's start with number 7. Number 7. The WOW signal's ghostly echo. In 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up something that made a scientist grab his printout and scribble one word in the margin: wow. For 72 seconds, a signal beamed from deep space matched every prediction we had for alien contact. The frequency was right. The behavior was right. Everything about it looked like the moment humanity had been waiting for. And then it vanished. The astronomer who found it, Jerry Eman, assumed it would show up again within hours. That is what natural radio sources do. They pulse, they rotate, they come back around. This one never did. Scientists have been scanning that exact patch of sky for nearly 50 years. They have pointed some of the most powerful telescopes on Earth at the same coordinates. Every attempt has come back empty. We cannot explain where the signal came from. We cannot explain why it stopped. And we cannot explain why, in half a century of listening, it has never said another word. The universe had something to say for 72 seconds, and we still have no idea what. But that signal came from across the galaxy. The next mystery was happening inside people's own bedrooms. Number 6. The Taos hum's invisible torment. Imagine waking at 3 in the morning to a low, throbbing drone. It sounds like a diesel engine idling just outside your window. You get up to look. Nothing is there. You go back to bed. The sound is still there. This is everyday life for a small percentage of people living in Taos, New Mexico. They call it the hum. And here is the unsettling part. Only about 2% of people in any affected area can hear it at all. Everyone else hears nothing. Scientists have spent decades trying to locate the source. Some think it could be seismic activity, low-frequency vibrations leaking up from deep inside the Earth. Others believe it might be military submarine communication signals bouncing through the lower atmosphere. There is even a theory that certain people's inner ears can generate their own low-frequency tones under specific conditions, like a radio accidentally tuned to a frequency it was never built to receive. None of these explanations have held up. Some sufferers have moved houses, changed jobs, and relocated to different countries, trying to escape the sound. It follows them. The frequency remains identical regardless of location, which rules out any single local source. The hum has now been documented in dozens of places, from Bristol in England to Largs in Scotland. Investigators have brought in the most sensitive audio recording equipment available. The microphones pick up nothing. There is a sound that nobody else can hear, and science has never been able to explain it. But while the hum torments people on Earth, our next mystery lights up the sky above them. Number 5. The Hessdalen light's unexplained glow. In a narrow valley in central Norway, something has been lighting up the night sky since at least the 1930s. Locals call them the Hessdalen lights. Glowing orbs appear without warning, sometimes white, sometimes yellow, sometimes red. They hover silently above the hills for minutes at a time, moving in patterns that do not match anything natural. Then they vanish, leaving no trace. Scientists set up a permanent monitoring station in the valley in 1983. They have been watching ever since. The lights still appear roughly 20 times a year. Researchers have proposed that underground sulfur deposits might be reacting with metallic rock to create a natural battery, generating enough charge to produce floating plasma in the air above. Think of a geological accident creating its own light source in the sky. But the plasma theory does not explain why the lights move deliberately, change color, and sometimes seem to respond to the presence of aircraft. Some of the lights have been filmed accelerating to speeds that no known aircraft can match, then stopping instantly. No sonic boom, no trail. Cameras, radar, and spectrometers have all been aimed at these lights. The data exists. The images are real. And yet the closer scientists look, the less they can say with certainty. Dozens of scientific teams from universities across Europe have visited the valley over the past 4 decades. They all see the same thing. They all leave without an answer. The next mystery is closer to home. It happens inside your own skull. Number 4. Exploding head syndrome's silent detonation. Just as you begin to fall asleep, the moment your body relaxes and your mind starts to drift, you hear it. A thunderous explosion, as if a bomb has gone off directly inside your skull. No pain, no damage. Nobody else in the room heard anything, but your heart is hammering. You are completely awake again. And there is no explanation for what just happened. Scientists call it exploding head syndrome. It is not a disease. It is not a sign of anything structurally wrong with the brain. We simply do not know why it happens. One theory suggests that as the brain powers down for sleep, certain neurons misfire in a wave, triggering the auditory cortex to generate a sound that does not exist. Imagine a city shutting off its power grid for the night, but one substation briefly surges before going dark. The brain registers that surge as an explosion. It affects an estimated 10% of the population at some point in their lives. Some people experience it only a handful of times. Others report it happening night after night for months. Some describe the sound as a gunshot. Others hear a cymbal crash or a burst of static. Scientists cannot reliably reproduce it in a laboratory, cannot prevent it, and cannot explain why certain people are more susceptible than others. Every night, millions of people fall asleep, not knowing whether their own brain is about to detonate. That alone is terrifying. But the next mystery is killing something on a much larger scale. Number 3. The mass animal die-off pattern. On the first day of 2011, approximately 5,000 red-winged blackbirds fell out of the sky over Beebe, Arkansas. They fell within a 1-mile radius. Most were dead before they hit the ground. Tests showed blunt force trauma, as if each bird had struck something solid in mid-flight. The sky was clear. There were no structures in their path, and nobody saw what happened. This kind of event is not as rare as it sounds. Scientists have cataloged thousands of mass animal die-offs over the past century. Fish washing up by the millions on coastlines with no sign of disease. Whales stranding themselves on beaches with no physical cause. Entire flocks of birds dropping simultaneously from the sky across different continents in the same week. Researchers link some events to weather, some to toxins, some to disorientation. But the pattern itself, the sheer frequency, and the strange synchrony across species and geography has never been fully explained. What no one can fully account for is the sheer coordination. These are not single animals making a bad decision. These are thousands of individuals across different species, in different ecosystems, dying in ways that leave investigators baffled. In some cases, the die-offs occur simultaneously across continents with no known connection between them. Scientists keep separate files for each event, but the files are piling up. Something is happening that our current tools are not equipped to measure. And while we struggle to understand what is happening to life on Earth, our next mystery is broadcasting from across the entire universe. Number 2. Fast radio bursts impossible signal. Imagine a single flash of radio energy so powerful it releases more in 1 millisecond than our sun produces in 3 days. Then it vanishes. No warning beforehand, no trail left behind. These are fast radio bursts. And they have been reaching Earth from across the universe for as long as we have had instruments sensitive enough to catch them. The first one was found in archived telescope data in 2007, a signal from billions of light years away that had been sitting unnoticed in a computer for 6 years. Scientists have now cataloged over 1,000 of them. Some arrive once and are never detected again. Others repeat on no predictable schedule. One burst has fired more than 1,000 times from the same location in a dwarf galaxy 3 billion light-years from Earth. We have no idea what object could survive producing that much energy over and over without tearing itself apart. Some researchers believe they originate from magnetars, neutron stars with magnetic fields so extreme they warp the fabric of space around them. The most powerful, fast radio burst ever recorded, released in a single millisecond, the equivalent of what the sun will produce over the next 30 years. Picture every power plant on Earth running simultaneously for 1 billion years. That is still not enough to generate what one fast radio burst releases in the time it takes to blink. And we are almost certainly missing the vast majority of them. A telescope has to be pointed at exactly the right patch of sky at exactly the right instant. Something out there is broadcasting constantly, in all directions, across the entire observable universe. We cannot find the source. We cannot explain the mechanism. We just keep catching the signals and waiting for a pattern that has not arrived. But the biggest mystery on this list is not out there in space. It is sitting right where you are, right now. Number 1. The hard problem of consciousness. Right now, as you listen to these words, something is happening inside your head that science cannot explain. Not just the mechanics of how your brain processes sound, not just the neurons firing in sequence, the signals traveling down auditory pathways, something more fundamental than any of that. You are experiencing this. There is something it feels like to be you, sitting wherever you are, hearing this voice. And nobody in the history of science has been able to explain how or why that experience exists at all. This is not a gap in knowledge that more research will eventually fill. Scientists and philosophers have been working on it for centuries, and the closer they look, the more unsolvable it seems. We can scan a brain and see which regions light up when a person hears music or feels pain or recognizes a face. We can trace the electrical signals, we can map the chemistry, but none of that tells us why it feels like anything. A complete blueprint of every neuron in your brain would still not explain why you are aware that you exist. Take a robot with sensors identical to your eyes. It can detect light, it can process color, it can respond to what it sees. But is there something it feels like to be that robot, looking at the world? Almost certainly not. Now take you. Same process, roughly. Photons hit your retina, signals travel to your brain. But somewhere in that chain, experience appears. A rich, vivid, private world that only you have access to. The gap between the robot and you is the hardest unsolved problem in all of science, and we do not know where in that chain experience switches on. Some researchers think consciousness might emerge from complexity, the way wetness appears when you have enough water molecules together. Others believe consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, like mass or charge, woven into the fabric of reality itself. What makes this the most disturbing mystery on this list is that it is not out there somewhere. It is not in a valley in Norway, or in a radio signal from across the universe. It is inside you, right now, and has been every moment of your life. You are the mystery. So, there you have it. 7 phenomena that have defeated every tool, every theory, and every team of researchers we have thrown at them. A signal from space that spoke once and fell silent. A sound only 2% of people can hear. Lights that defy physics. A brain that detonates when you try to sleep. Animals dying in coordinated waves across continents. Broadcasts from across the universe. And the simple fact that you are sitting there, aware of your own existence for reasons nobody can explain. If this made you look at the world a little differently, subscribe. Next week, I am breaking down the strangest unexplained events of the last decade, and some of them are even stranger than what you just heard.